Okay, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to yet another case study for someone that's actually returned back to the channel. We had Ben on 10 or 11 months ago, I think. Is that right?
Mm, roughly.
Roughly, something like that. And I wanted to get Ben back on the channel because it's kind of like where is he at now? Because a lot of people see people enter this industry, maybe get results in a short time frame. But I want to kind of give you guys a look at the lifestyle and how Ben's life has changed in such a long time because there's so much to unpack. Ben's been crushing it. Just going to say, he's been doing 12K months, 10, 12K months, which is super exciting. And to see that transformation in you, bro, from when you first started as a refrigeration mechanic to now is just insane. And I know with a lot of the guys, as they get like really quick results as well, you don't really have enough time to reflect and look back at what was. And so I kind of want to explore a lot of
Mm,
that here of your experience and what's changed pretty much in the last year or so. Because you're very near in the first group of students that actually got inside the community. So it's gonna be very cool to take a look at where you are at now.
mm. It's been an incredible journey and time flies, right? What's it been nearly 10 months? It was roughly the start of April. I was just remembering then, it was the 2nd of April that I joined the Remote Sales Academy. So
11
just
months.
shy of a year. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy year. You look back at the first interview we did, and we both look so different. I look much younger.
Yeah.
You look a little bit younger as well. We've obviously
Yeah.
made some big changes, but
Yeah.
it's been a great year. And like you said, there's no time for reflection. But that is the beauty of online salesmen, especially 4 years being a refrigeration mechanic feels like that's all been packed into 10 months in high ticket sales.
Yeah.
Time is just non-existent. Life is beautiful, but I'm keen to get into this conversation, really just expand on where life's at now. It's
Yeah, I
beautiful.
love it, dude. Yeah, I think so many people are going to really enjoy this because it's like it's really like getting to see like what someone actually looks like in the longer term side of things. And when we first recorded that interview, that was like right when you landed your first gig, and we talked about it at the time. It was hilarious. I remember I gave you a phone call because you sent me a message saying you landed your first gig, and I was like, "What?" I called you up right away, and he's like, "You're like, yeah, I landed my first role." I was like, "No way." And then you said, I think I said something to you like, "How does it feel that you know that you have the ability to spawn money into thin air?" And you're like, "Dude, I can't believe this. I can't believe this."
Mm,
Like that, and that's so funny that that was only 11 months ago. To look at the progression to now, which we're going to dive into. But, um,
mm,
man, what was it like back then? Because, like, just to clarify, like, how much were you making as a refrigeration mechanic then, and what could you have peaked to?
mm. What I was making back then in that stage was it was on the verge of becoming qualified.
Mm,
So it was probably 2, 3 months off becoming fully qualified. And at that point, I was probably making three and a half, maybe $4,000 a month max on a wage as a tradie refrigeration mechanic. Even if you were to get qualified, you maybe $80,000 a year, right? So you're not looking at much. And back in those days, when you're in that position, that's can seem like quite a lot of money. And when you first get started, and you're on what, $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year as an apprentice, you're getting into the trade industry. 80,000, $90,000 a year seems like quite a lot. But then within such a short time frame, jumping from $4,000 a month to spawning money out of thin air within 3 weeks, limiting beliefs, just a lot of mind frames, bro. There was a big switch that happened up here. And I think that come from just having 100% faith in the system, the process, in you, and just going balls to the wall, just going
mm,
all in. And I remember that phone call. It was probably, that's a core memory, right? When you called me that time and we jumped on the phone. But it was purely that exact reaction. Every single stage when I'd land the first role, and then a month later landing another role in the first sale, making my first money online. Every single time was that disbelief. It was disbelief, and then it turned straight into a new baseline. It was like, no, this is the life now.
mm.
So yeah, crazy changes happen and they still do. It feels like every month you just keep progressing and progressing and progressing. But initially in those first stages, it was purely just taking those layers off and understanding, completely opening up and having 100% faith in the system. And here we are now. So yeah, the income has drastically changed, but there was no hope of ever becoming financially free as a refrigeration mechanic. Full stop.
And it's not even just the finance side of things as well, because a lot of us, definitely a lot of Australian tradies listening to this as well. For American listeners, people across the world, tradies is just basically tradesmen, painters, electricians, or sparkies as we call them in Australia. Uh, it's not just that; it's also the lifestyle that you get to live as well. And before we go into that, I'm going to bring that up a little bit later. Let's talk about
Mm,
like your first actual setting role that you got with the company. Like, what was that like? What were you
mm,
doing? How did everything change for you when you landed that one?
mm. So the first video we did, the first interview we did was when I landed at, I'll talk about the setting role because that was my first real true experience into sales. But my first role was cold calling, essentially. That was the first role I landed. And that was probably the best start I've ever had into sales. I'm so grateful that I started with cold calling because it shows you the pointy end of the stick, right? And you really just remove those layers in the shortest amount of time possible. And then removing those layers, being in a position where now you'll be comfortable to speak to anyone. You'll call a stranger, know how to have a conversation with them, know how to get them into a buying state, and then transitioning into my first setting role, which was it was incredible. It was with a guy called Tony Versick. I was working with the Empowered Man, and his offer was selling. He was basically coaching married businessmen that can't balance the two. So, they're either completely devoted to their business and they've got no time for their family at all. And I was with Tony for just north of 3 months, and that was incredible.
Mm.
Making that transition into sales, coming from a refrigeration mechanic where the Aussie tradie language is probably your vocabulary probably has about 10 words, right? All you know is that's about it.
Yeah.
Going from that, having the same conversation every single day for about 4 years on repeat with the same people around you, and then transitioning into sales and especially appointment setting where you're talking to warm leads, it was a big change, but it was the best change I could have ever made. Speaking to people that are in an incredibly emotional state, they're going through a lot of pain. They're really looking for a solid solution because when it comes to family, when it comes to losing something, they're in a very emotional state. And I think that setting role really opened my eyes. Cold calling was a great introduction to online sales and the blunt end of the stick. What the sales world is truly what the core essence of it is. And then transitioning into warm leads, having the freedom where I can dial for 2 to 3 hours in the morning, have the lunchtime off, go and do what I please, and then dial for the rest of the day. But more importantly, choosing my own schedule. Right. I had the freedom now. I'm like, I can wake up when I want, I can work out when I want, I can hang out with people. But then again, the more freedom I had, the more I just wanted to work. Like the more time I had to spend to myself and really set my own schedule, the hunger and the drive, just that fire kept burning, right? And you just want to put in more and more hours. I went from 12-hour days to 14-hour days to 16-hour days, just really stacking those wins and getting the experience. But yeah, the setting role set me up perfectly for the position I'm in now,
Mm.
transitioning into IT closer.
And how
Um,
much were you making in that role?
the most I made with Tony was around 8K in 1 month as a setup. And that
Amazing.
was, yeah, it was beautiful, man. The first couple of months was, well, the first month was around 5K, and then the next 2 months was 7 and 8.
Amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really
Mm,
cool. And so, because a lot of people who entered in this space as well, just as I had as well, like I was like, I want to become a high ticket closer, right? Like that was my whole thing. Because this is what's the narrative in the industry. I want to become a high ticket closer, so blah blah blah. So how do you feel like that significantly played to your advantage in the role that you're in now, which is full-time closing? Like how much of an impact or a difference do you think that's made to you now?
building the right foundations. It's something that, I talk about on the phone every day with people that are looking at joining Chris's program, but it's building the right foundations. You can't build a house on plastic, right? So by starting with cold calling, going into setting, you understand the entire process from start to finish. All right, getting into high tier closing is like jumping from level one to level 10 straight away. You've got to know the in between. You can it can definitely be done. I'm sure you'd understand, but knowing the process from start to finish, just how people are, where they're positioned in the funnel, like where their market awareness, like even just understanding how to talk to these people. Because getting that experience as a setter, it's like those baby steps, because once you transition into closing, it's advanced. You're using advanced language. You really got to be able to zoom out from the call and understand what's going on from a high perspective. But it's like being an apprentice before becoming fully qualified. You're doing those steps, you're learning the trade, you're learning the tricks, you're learning the right foundation. So by the time you transition into closing, you are a ninja and you understand everything from start to finish.
Absolutely. And you're on and off because it's really interesting. A lot of people really hard to conceptualize like what it is that you actually sell in high ticket sales. So before it was, helping married men balance their relationships and business and obviously
Mm.
stay healthy and all that type of stuff. But now it's helping people start their own affiliate marketing business where I think the total actual like commissions earned by like the clients that you work with is like what, something like 250 million or something like that.
Yeah, so that was up until September of last year.
Mm,
Chris Reader students collectively earned $279 million worth in verified paid out commissions. Now
mm,
that's in US dollars, so it's nearly half a billion in Australian dollars. Now
mm.
that was up until last September. So in the short time period from September till now, that number's only increased. So yeah, going from an offer of helping people in a very dire state, which was there's a lot more. It was a lot more emotional in that kind of offer. It wasn't really money focused. It was more life centered and really looking at changing their lives for the better. Whereas now transitioning into a business opportunity where it's a lot more intricate. There's a lot more advancements. We're using AI in this course. So many students that you've brought onto the course that are doing incredible. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it was definitely a great transitioning from married men that are struggling with business into an incredible business opportunity that's leveraging AI, marketing, funnels, ClickBank, the real nitty gritty marketing side of business. And it's a great offer. Chris is amazing. Obviously, Jack.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jack.
Shout out to Jack.
Absolute
Yeah.
guy is
Jack's a savage. Yeah. I want to talk about
10
that
years.
actually.
Yeah.
I want to talk
Yeah.
about that because like it's something that's we'll talk about the personal growth in a minute. And remind me if I forget about it. But like working with amazing guys like Jack, right? Managers that
Mm,
actually care about you, that have amazing skills that pour into you as well. Like
mm,
how has that experience been where you're actually working at a company where you're cared about, you have someone that you can work with that actually
mm.
cares about your goals and wants to help you? Like how amazing has it been to really work with a company that you get to work with some amazing people. Like what's the difference been like comparatively previously what you've done?
Mm. Working with Jack has been life changing. It feels like I've had 4 years experience in the industry in 3 months. When I first got started with Chris and Jack and started on the account, it was, still had the training wheels on. I was still getting familiar with, becoming a closer and the intricate language and just understanding the sales process in great detail. But I can confidently 100% say working with Jack has completely changed my life. Having someone that purely cares about your success, your improvement, it's unexplainable, right? Like having someone who completely understands sales from start to finish, being in a position where he can just take you from beginner to advanced in that period of time, and someone that no matter what I would do, ask Jack so many questions. I'd be in his DMs every single day. We'd be doing one-to-ones 3 to 4 times a week. But having someone that truly cares for you on an account where it's commission only, it's high pressure, love that. But having
Mm,
someone that cares for you and cares for your success has been, I'd say, by far the biggest thing that's helped me succeed up until this point. And kudos to Jack. He
yeah,
knows exactly what he's talking about. He knows how to take you from beginner to savage.
yeah,
Look at Hudson, for example, right?
mm,
Like
yeah,
Hudson started, what was it, 2 months ago?
yeah.
Hudson's an absolute savage.
Saxon's
And
crushing it as well.
purely props to Jack. Exactly. The boys
Riley.
from the RSA absolutely crushed it. But no, I think the overall factor there is just having someone that really does care for you.
Mm.
It's leaps and bounds. It gives you that years experience in such a short time period, and can't be more grateful for a
I
true
couldn't
proper sales manager.
I couldn't agree more, man. Like having good sales leadership in an organization that you work for is so critical because when you get an offer, and this is what I find really interesting, the reason why sales reps actually go on to run really successful businesses in the future, if they want to do that, because not everybody wants to do that, but and that's okay. But if people do, they're previously sales reps, it works so well because you've been in the trenches. You know what it's
Mm,
like. You know exactly what you're thinking. You know exactly what I'm thinking. The day to day sales mindset, sales skills. And when you have a professional that can help you tweak from a skills perspective, from a mindset
mm,
perspective, because it's not just how you sell on the phone, it's what you do off the phone. It's how you train, it's how you communicate. It's all the different little nuances that you typically wouldn't get working
mm,
with, you know, even some sales coaches at some point, because you need someone who's directly motivated to your success. And
mm-hmm,
oftentimes, if it's just a business owner, that can work out well. Don't get me wrong. But like, if you have someone that's seriously dedicated towards your department's success and individually you, it makes
mm,
a profound difference in your development. And a good manager, like you mentioned, good leader, can
mm,
transform your journey from taking a couple years in a much shorter time frame. I'll give a shout out to Anthony Vazzari, who actually was a sales manager of mine at Sales Sniper when I worked there for I don't know how long. Same thing. He was amazing, right? Led from the front, really good at sales, right? And really good with sales management skills, really good at people, managing people. And
mm,
not only was it the sales skills that I learned from him, but it was also the ability to manage people, right? Because that is a skill within itself. And there's so many things you can learn when you can put your ego to the side, which I think is a really big problem in our industry, where young people come in this industry, have high expectations because a marketer sold them a dream, and they have this ego that's pushing them and they won't listen to anybody else. They're not open to critical feedback. How important would you say being open to critical feedback has been in your career thus far?
mm. Again, I'm going to thank you, Jack, because being open for the criticism, it purely comes from a place where they want you to succeed. Jack even said this to me the other day. He when he was first getting started, Caleb, obviously, who was giving that feedback to Jack, and then now I'm in a position where Jack would be reviewing my calls, giving me the feedback, and it was just straight to the point. But being open and being willing to just open right up, take the feedback, understand that it's coming from a place of pure intent. They want you to succeed. It loops back to exactly what you just said. Just drop the ego. You are not a ninja just yet. You will become a ninja if you take the criticism, you take the feedback. And that's exactly the process I went through, was just dropping the ego, understanding that I'm a complete beginner. I have no knowledge, and just taking it on. And then by taking on the feedback, by taking it to heart, listening, and actually implementing what they're teaching you, you only see it's a net positive no matter what. But I think that's the most important thing. Is it was definitely something that I struggled with to begin with on my first offer when I was setting. the ego was there. I was working with a group of people. It was a very dominant team. It was very dominant personalities. And it was hard to drop the ego and really take that criticism. But then going on to a team where you just realize that you're bottom of the ladder. And the only way to get to the top is to drop the crap, accept the feedback and move on. I think it's a harsh reality, listening back to calls sometimes when you know you could have done much better or you know how the call went. It's sometimes they're hard to listen to and you don't want to. I look back at the first interview we did, I listened to my language and I cringe. I listened back to some of my first calls that I ever did as a closer and I cringed so hard. But that just gives you a newfound perspective on, oh, look how far I've come. And then it
Mm,
gives you like a little memory or reflection of, oh, this is what I've learned. By listening to those old calls, you can actually write down what you would have done better on that call. But just that only comes by opening yourself up to the criticism and understanding that it's only net positive no matter what. So can't endorse it enough.
100%. And having that growth is really, really key. And what I've found is, we are kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, that it never stops. Like it always just keeps going and going and going. And we're talking about how, you're learning so much from, the gentleman that you're living with a little bit earlier on as well. It's the same thing with mentors and friends of mine as well. It's like one of the biggest strengths of mine, and I think as yours, is to put your ego to the side, put my ego to the side.
Mm,
Even till today, running a business, it's a different challenge. There's different lessons, there's different learnings. And every single week, every single month, I just get slapped in the face with another one, right? And another one, and another one, and another one. But the main thing is that you learn from it and you actually take lessons, because otherwise you're just gonna you're gonna keep on getting slapped in the face or get slapped in
mm,
the face with the same lesson until you learn it. Like for example, uh, yeah, no, he won't listen to this, but there's someone who's advising me on investing in crypto at the moment, right? And a classic example, I was trying to get my exchanges sorted and all this other type of stuff, and the exchanges in Dubai would give me a lot of difficulty and a lot of hassle. And they told me to invest in a specific meme coin, right, that they targeted, and they made a call. I think I could have put 5K USD in. I think it was just 5K. And I saw it. I think I delayed it, didn't do anything with it or whatever. And then 4 weeks later, 200K. So 5 to 200K, I missed out on that call. Now, for a couple hours, I felt like shit, as anyone would. But the next logical step for me, and he laughs at me now for doing it, but I still do it, which I
mm,
put an alarm in my phone every single day at 5 p.m. saying like, do what X and X says. No matter what, no ifs, no buts. It doesn't matter what you're doing at the time of day, or if you're struggling to do it, you're trying to swap the coins or whatever, the tokens, like what or bridging, like whatever it is that you're doing, sit down there and figure it out and actually do the thing. And I think as long as you learn from the lessons, that's going to be really, really key. But a lot of people just keep on
mm,
getting smacked in the face with the same lesson over and over again, but never
mm.
implementing anything different.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but that's why it feels like you can have 4 years change in such a small period of time,
Mm,
especially the time periods, all the work and all the training and everything that Jack has done for me, all the time, the effort, because you are shedding so many layers, you're leaving your ego at the door. You're just opening yourself up to so much more information. Like you're allowing yourself to grow and you're going through rapid changes at that rate. And
mm,
it's something it's very uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable process because you learn the hard way by not making the change and then making the same mistake. Or either way, you're going to feel discomfort, or you push through the discomfort, you understand, you leave your ego to the side, and then it's a net positive. But that's why I feel like you can have that drastic change in such that short period of time, like I did,
mm,
was just by listening to every single thing that someone tells you to do without question, which is exactly what I did with you at the start when we first got started. And look what happens. You
mm,
follow the process, you follow the system, to a T, and look what happens. You land your first role within 2 weeks, you land another setting role, and now you're a high ticket closer. And now I'm living in the Gold Coast, surrounded by great people, and now I'm
Yeah.
doing an interview with you. What happens? You listen to what people tell you to do. You do not question it. You leave your ego at the door, and that's just it.
Yeah. It's such a key skill. And I think there's a book I've been recommended to read, which is like Ego is the Enemy. I need to give it a read.
Mm.
But it is not sure if you've read it.
Nah, it's on the list. It's on
It's
the
on my
list.
list as well. But I think one of the biggest pitfalls for younger people is that, like you mentioned, they can't leave the ego at the door. Like that's such a big struggle for so many people. And that ability of even like for myself, same story. Like
Mm.
I've got a mentor and I just blindly followed them. First time mentor, most people know that wasn't a good one. But the
Mm.
second one, right? For example, Jeremy, amazing one, right? Very good at what he does. And so all that I did, I was like, cool, that's working. Let me just do my best to replicate it as best possible and just follow it blindly. Like that's really what you need. But to follow someone blindly, you need to have them be a good leader. You need to have them have achieved what you want to achieve. Whereas what
Mm.
I see a massive pitfall in our space, which I just did an interview with Caleb, funny enough, just yesterday, talking about this, is that there's so many people in our industry that lead so many beginners astray for overnight success, 90 days, 60, 90 days. You're going to be a high ticket closer. You're
Mm.
going to be bowling. Even I've seen some ads nowadays. It's like earn $300 to $500 a day typing simple text messages on your phone. It's
Mm.
like, and I've been drawn by so many people and coaches said, why don't you do the same ads? Is because I can't bring myself to even at the surface level attract someone into the opportunity of high ticket sales with that frame of mind because it's just not me. And that's what I was sucked into. And that's what I believed in the beginning. And that set me back for a very, very long time because I had the wrong expectations. And that's why it's so amazing that I guess we've grown the community to where we have just through referral, right? You know, you've referred
Mm.
Hudson and maybe a couple others, and a lot of other guys end up referring a lot of people. A lot of people come from the YouTube channel, and you'll have the right mindset. You know it's going to take a long time. You know it's not going to be
Mm.
easy, right? And that's why you get much better results because you already have the mindset that is correct rather than fast and easy, which is where so many people just give up in the very short term because the one variable that will prevent you from succeeding is just time. That's it.
Mm. Yeah. And Craig actually said this in a conversation we had last night. People overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but completely underestimate what they can achieve in 3. If you told
1,000%.
me a year ago where I would be right now, the disbelief would come into play. I'd be like, maybe. I don't think I'll be living in the Gold Coast.
Mm.
3 years time, in another 2 years time, who knows where we could be? And I think that's a very powerful, powerful quote. But I mean, look, I used to see those ads as well. Work 2 hours a day, take calls by the beach, make $1,000 a day, and you'll be sweet. You'll be living the life. But then you get into sales and you realize this is fun. Like you got that burning desire, but you're going to be taking calls all day. That's the fun part of it,
Mm.
is taking the calls, working hard, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, getting stuck into it because you're chasing your passion, you're feeding that burning desire inside of you. And yeah, it's just delaying the gratification. I think not having that and not underestimating yourself. Mm.
Completely agree. Like delaying gratification, I haven't said that enough, and I think I should continue saying it because I talk about time, time takes time, but delayed gratification really is what it is. It's like you're working hard, you don't know if it's going to pay off, right? You're sacrificing time, you're sacrificing, potentially friendships, relationships, like the
Mm.
old life that you already knew. Because I'm not sure if we talked about this too much in your first interview, but how's it been going from a country down, basically? Let's call it that. Like the population, what was like 10, 15,000?
It's far, far away, out in the bush. I think, yeah, I think that. there's like 5 or 10 people in the town. There's like maybe a bit of dirt sticking around, but no, quite frankly, you're right, coming from a country town. But sorry, I'll let you continue on.
No, of course. I was just going to ask, like, what has it been like going from that type of mentality? Because I know very much myself going from Tasmania,
Mm,
very small place. And for those of you that aren't aware that aren't Australian, it's a small island beneath Australia. Always gets made fun of in every conversation. But yeah, it's a small place. It's not as small as where you're from, but still same thing. Small town mentality, small town
yep.
thinking. You will pass people that you know from high school in the street. You will see them here and there, and I think it's probably a little bit more intense from where you're at. But
Mm,
what has it been like going from that type of environment to where you are
mm.
now? You're traveling in Gold Coast, you've moved far, far away from home, you're surrounded by some really, really cool people. Like, what has that change been like?
It's been astonishing to say the least. Now it's funny. I'm actually going back to Victoria in about 3 or 4 days' time, and then flying over to the UK for 2 weeks. But coming from a small town where my closest, well, I lived out of town, so the closest town to me was about 30 minutes away. So to get groceries, to go to the gym, to go and socialize with people, it was a minimum 30-minute drive any direction. So there's 3 towns. Now, the closest neighbor to me was about 4 or 5 kilometers away. So I was out in the bush, out in the country. Now, the town I was from was called Benalla, Victoria. It was about 2.5 hours north of Melbourne, northeast Victoria.
Mm.
And I think I heard someone say it's called small town syndrome. It's a bit
That's
of
a
a broad
great
term.
word. That's a great word
It
for it. Yeah,
is.
I like that. Yeah.
It very closed-minded, I think to say the least. Even my friends nowadays they don't quite fully understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing. Doesn't quite make sense.
Mm.
And it was really Craig had a perfect example as well. It was standing in the middle of a field. If you're trying to run and you've got a rubber band strapped to your chest, it's quite hard. You've got to be able to step back, remove that tension, remove the resistance, and just understand that no one's coming to save you. The harsh reality of being in a small town is that no fairy's going to fly down from the sky and save you and give you $10 million. Then you can move to the city and then you can go and live your life in Dubai. Man up. You've got to figure it out yourself. And especially where I was coming from, I socialize with my friends every now and then, but nobody around understood business, let alone online business. The words online business put together was foreign. I was speaking another language to people in my hometown. No one knew what it was. They were scared what it was, so they would give you criticism and they wouldn't understand. It'd be too much for some people, so they push back. And what I learned very quickly, actually, in fact, was that I'm alone in this journey, especially in this small town. So I would go to Melbourne every now and then. I'd socialize with people,
Mm.
other people from sales, other people that are just in marketing, into online business in general. And then you get these little, packets of information. Oh, other people are aware of online business. Oh my God, like business actually exists outside of this small town called Benalla. Oh my God. So then you go to the city and you go to these events. The first event I ever went to was a David Goggins event. He partnered with Ethan Donati. And that
Mm.
was just mind blowing. Meeting all these people my age that are in an e-com. One guy was selling dog collars, and then there was another guy selling like glow in the dark lamps, and then meeting another guy who's running a social media marketing agency. It was this newfound world. And then taking those lessons, taking that knowledge back to a small town, you're met with disappointment. I think you don't
Mm.
understand as well, is your dreams and your aspirations, they just get shut down extremely quickly. So yeah, making that change, man, from a small town to the Gold Coast now, it's probably been the biggest change you could ever make. Surrounding yourself with the right people. It's so cliche. It's such a common phrase, but you are the sum of the people you hang around. And that is exactly right. I can 100% attest to that. Living with an elite performance mentor as my housemate, this is a den of success. This is an empire. Now, then going out and socializing with people that are already in online business. We've got Will, for example, who's a fitness coach. We've got Jay and Braden who are running an online betting agency that are doing high six figures. Just being around these kind of people, you understand the world is a lot bigger than the small town you live in. I can assure you, there are a lot of people, there is a lot of opportunities outside of the small town. But unless you take that step into the unknown and you explore, you're never going to know. If I never went to Melbourne, if I never got out of my comfort zone and came up here for a week, and then I was like, oh my God, this is another level to climb. I've been to Dubai yet, but I might come to Dubai and it's another level again. Oh my God, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Oh my God, the
Mm.
world's actually huge. But
Yeah,
that's the mentality that comes from the small town is closed-minded and to try and look for guidance, to try and look for support or any form of commitment from other people with your journey, that's not going to happen. If you're coming from a small town, if you're coming from a place where no one understands your journey, you can't look for guidance. You have to man up, strap on the boots, pick a direction, and start walking.
beautiful, man.
100%.
I love it. And something that I want to touch on there that you briefly spoke about, I'm not sure if you're too sure if you're aware of it, but the the element of exposure is so powerful because it's like
Mm,
if you your entire life have been only exposed to a set of beliefs and an environment and certain people, if that is you your entire life, that's what you will believe for the rest of your life.
hmm
Whereas if you start hanging around with different people who have different conversations, different beliefs, they talk about different things, right?
mm,
It changes your perspective entirely. I remember when my mentor, or even in my first like business role that I was setting for 4 years ago, and I remember getting business owners or coaches or consultants on the phone. They'd say just casually that they do like 100, $200,000 a month. And I was just like shocked. I was like, how is this possible? And I remember spending so much time with my mentor as well. And, he was doing 100,000 a month consistently. And I was like,
mm,
how is this possible? Like, how is this, this, this person I'm putting on a pedestal? Like, how is he able to do that? And what I found is like the more I get older and the more I enter into these spaces of more and more successful people, I just find I get exposed to new levels of thinking. And because the
mm,
way that I believe things happen is the more successful you get and the more income that you earn, you almost live in a completely different reality to most people.
hmm
And this is what I've observed across, working with and talking to on a regular daily basis, really successful people that have done millions of dollars online, all the
Yeah.
way down to people that make $50,000 a month in commissions as a full-time sales rep. Their line and way of thinking and their worldview is completely different to your eyes. It's
hmm
completely different. The way that they think about money, the way that they think about
Yeah.
just everything, that their entire world view and their reality is completely different. And then you go from country town to the people that you're surrounded by now,
Mm,
and you're basically breaking into a new world of beliefs in a different world, essentially, which is super
hmm
exciting to see, man. I absolutely love it. And I can resonate with that too, because it's all the way down from when I first found out that it was possible to make 10K a month 4 or 5 years ago from high ticket sales to now I'm sitting down and having conversations with guys that do $750,000 a month. Right? There's just levels, levels, and then upon
mm,
levels, and it's a constant game of growth. And the reason I love it, and I love giving you guys the space and the ability to have those breakthroughs, is just the gift to be able to give the wisdom back to you. I've just stood on
mm,
the shoulders of giants, and I'm sure at some point in your life, man, you do something similar. And that was, for example, when I gave you that call, like I was just like, it's insane because like, how does it feel that you can spawn money to thin air? And it's just
mm,
constant peeling back layers of beliefs and watching your reality change is
mm,
truly something special, man. And I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. There's nothing, it's just such a unique experience that when you get to go through that transformation yourself and help others do it, and raise their consciousness and their level of understanding.
Mm.
It's it's beautiful, man. It's really, really cool.
Well, I think I can say this for everyone, not only inside of the Remote Sales Academy, but that everyone that knows you in general, Connor, is that I think we're all extremely, extremely grateful for what you've done for us, especially for myself. I can confidently say, coming from a refrigeration mechanic, stuck in that cycle, not knowing where to go, not knowing if I'm going to make it out, is this going to be my life forever? And then having someone like yourself come along that is just wanting to change my life. You know what you do works. You know, hey, if you follow these steps, you will escape your job, you will become free, you will actually become your own boss and truly just live life on your own terms. I can 100% say that everyone inside the RSA is extremely grateful for everything you've done for us. I think you look at the community, all the lives you've changed. I don't think you truly will comprehend like the amount of impact, the amount of change that you've done, right? You've changed so many lives. Look at Hudson, for example. Look at Saxon. Look at these people that in such a short period of time, we've all been in very similar positions. Hudson was an electrician as well.
Mm.
Right? And that's my brother. So, being in a position where you can take in such a short period of time, change their lives when there was no hope. I think we're all extremely grateful for everything you've done for us, Connor. And I think you truly need to understand that you're changing lives, man. We're just getting started, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart for just giving me the opportunity to become the man I am now. Look at me, I'm in Gold Coast speaking to you. You're in Dubai. We've made big changes together in the past year. We're both in different locations. We're both more handsome, right? We're both more wealthy. Purely, where does this stem from? It stems from you. You're the source all of this creation. Look at all the lives you've changed through the RSA. Boys earning 10, 20K a month, traveling the world. Boys are in Thailand. Dude, you're changing lives every single day. And from the bottom of my heart, I think we can all attest that we're extremely grateful for everything you've done for us. So I thank you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, it's just so proud to see that in a lot of you guys. And it's amazing to like give you guys the space to do that. But like watching you follow through on that is amazing. Like it's really, really cool because people can come to me and they can pay me the amount for the RSA and for the amount that it is now, but unless you do the work, the results
Mm,
won't come. And that's something that, you look at like in guys like yourself, Riley, Cashy, Rahul, Richard, uh, Hudson, Saxon, just to name a few. It's like the work that you guys put in to achieve that result is something that is amazing. And it's really, really cool. It's a to and fro relationship because, I mean, I just remember when I did my first mentorship, I talk about it very regularly. Some of you guys would know the story around this, but I spent $7,500 in that mentor, man. It was bad. And it was so bad. And I talk about often the strategy and the effort for a 10K result. 10K strategy and a 10K effort for a 10K result. My 10K
mm,
strategy was so bad that I had to significantly outweigh the effort. And instead of like a 10K result, it was like just a maximization of effort. And I think
mm,
something that I see in you and all the successful people that I work with, and that can be a key takeaway that people can have, which is that as long as you work extremely hard and you go all in, and I mean all in, I don't mean like a
mm,
half-assed pissy here and there. It's like if you really in your gut go, I've given my all to this, there is no way that it can fail. Absolutely zero. Never seen it.
mm.
Guys like Saxon sold his car, right? Hudson, all
Yeah.
in, right? Same story. And, same thing with all the Australian guys and all the RSA community members. It's just like every single time I've seen it, it's always just all in, balls to the wall. And like even observing in you, man, like when you started with me, you were like, I think you just like got enough to pay in full, and then you were just like my job's gone soon. So I'm like, I've got to get a job. And you told me you locked
Yeah, bro.
yourself in your room for like 12 hours a day for a couple of days. Like that's
Bro.
the all-in mentality. What were you
Yeah.
doing at that point in time?
All in. There you can I feel like there's a very fine line. You can say, oh, I went all in. I was so committed. And then you can say, no, like I was all in. The moment my eyes opened to the moment my eyes closed, it was sales. It was applying for roles. It was going through the training. It was living, breathing sales. I didn't leave my desk for, I think it was like for 4 or 5 days straight. I didn't leave my desk for about 6 hours at a time. It was just all in. And that was probably some of the best fulfillment I've ever felt. Going to bed thinking there is nothing else I could have done. There is not a single ounce of effort I could not have put in this day to further my improvement. And it was a very unique situation. It was quitting my job and not having an income. It was unknown. It was a gray territory. Where am I going? I don't know if this is going to work, but it will. And that was it. No, it will work. It's as simple as that. But that was so thrilling. It was so invigorating. And that's what still sparks the excitement to this day. It's 100% commission only, performance based. If you do not perform, you do not get paid. I love that to an absolute T. Whether it's just the high performer, whether it's that burning desire to be an absolute ninja. I don't know what exactly I can pinpoint it to, but in that first time period, man, that first 2 to 3 weeks, going all in, quitting my job, leaving everything, leaving friends, even falling out with family, right? Just to go all in on sales. That is the core essence of life right there. Fully devoting yourself to something and just having 100% faith that no, it will work. No questions about it. That is that's just awesome. I mean, it's an experience that everyone has to go through. If you can't go all in, if you can't fully devote to that period, I mean, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But going all in, balls to the wall was one of the best experiences I've ever had because the unknown is that's where the magic happens.
And it's beautiful that you've mentioned that because I've done that several times now where, I've been all in with that first investment in Mentor and then, it was 20K in one. And then there was like when I started the agency,
Mm,
no idea for what reason I did that. It was all meant to happen for a reason, but like that was just such a silly decision. I don't even know why I did that. But I had 3 months left before I was like out in the street. I would have been fine.
mm,
I would have gone and lived with my parents. I would have been at 10K a month in high ticket sales. Like that would have been fine. But I had 3 months left of savings left. And so it's when you develop that burning desire in your belly, in your stomach, where you're literally just like, there's no way I can
mm,
fail. I'm going to do everything possible to ensure that doesn't happen. And I think
mm,
a lot of people lack that mentality, which is really what you need to develop and what you need. And that's why this was a great interview for the YouTube channel, but even for everyone inside the community, just to teach from first principle, like see what works.
mm,
Right? Guys who are in the trenches with you, just like yourself, who get after it, who want it really bad, who really put their everything into what they do. And I think there's something really beautiful in that, for sure.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Riley, sorry to cut you off there, but
Yeah.
Riley mentioned this. Remember when I first joined the account and I was having a conversation with Riley, and even in the interview that the you two did together,
Yeah.
being in a position where you've got mortgage payments coming in
Mhm.
and you are generally in a negative balance, you if you're listening to this, like if you've been there, you know, right? Like having that hunt in many team calls, it was something in the RSA, but you've got to have that dog in you, right? If you don't have that, it's purely just having that dog. Like you're in a negative balance, you don't know where that next paycheck is going to come from. You do not know where to go moving forward. That's pure savagery. And being able, being willing to go back, go down, and go into a negative back balance, that is complete 100% faith. And that is just pure beauty. It's the
And
fun. That's the fun part of it, getting to challenge yourself.
that's where the magic happens, bro. That's absolutely where
Mhm.
the magic happens. And for you, man, you're in an amazing space, right? And it's really cool to see that you've accelerated your journey much faster than I have. And it took me such a long time to get to where you're at, where you're sitting, traveling to the Gold Coast. I think we had the exact same situation, right? So I think I had done high ticket sales for maybe about a year and a half or 2 years when I moved from
Mm,
Tassie to the Gold Coast, which is funny how it's very similar there. But
mm.
what are your plans, bro? What are you looking to do in the next year? Like just continue selling, progressing? Is there places you want to travel? Do you want to work overseas, international? Like what are the goals?
Mm. I want to build a team of absolute killers, right? Like being in a position where now I can help people like Hudson, who is a brother of mine, now come into a position where we're living an incredible life together. We're in a position where you can not only travel the world, make bank online, but just uplift people around you. And I think moving forward from here, it is purely just enjoying life for what it is. I'm in a stage now where I feel like I'm coming into my prime. Like this year is huge, especially this month. March is where things really start to kick off. So this year is just purely focused on becoming a ninja. I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I'm looking at becoming a level 100 ninja at my craft, really doubling down on my craft, becoming the best I can possibly be as a sales rep, and just living life, right? Like going traveling. Hudson and I will go to Bali. I might go back to I'm going to the UK in a couple of weeks. Just traveling the world, getting out, seeing the world for what it is, probably doing some normal human stuff. Don't know what that's like, going traveling and having fun.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but yeah, get out and do some stuff. But the most important thing for this year is really taking advantage of that fire that is just only getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and using that force, using that power to create, whether it's creating an empire, whether it's, really doubling down on the craft. I'm not quite sure of that pure vision for the year just yet, but I know right now that I'm really focusing on wealth creation, networking with great like-minded people and providing opportunities for people like myself that are just getting started to become a ninja, become financially free, and more importantly, become free of the world. So that's the plan for now.
100%. I think that's great because uh wanting to obsessively learn over the craft of sales is definitely got me to where I am today. And that when you really get sales, and I mean really get it, and you can take that skill anywhere. Because not a lot of people often talk about this. And I had a conversation with a very successful mentor of mine. He's started multiple different seven-figure businesses. And he said, and this is basically like a thesis that I'll talk about in the very near future, but I have something that I've labeled and called the money printer thesis, essentially. And what this thesis is that if you can learn in the new economy, which is as we've seen it, right? People are losing jobs left, right, and center. There was like hundreds of jobs that were lost in customer service at some company recently. I think it was like a finance provider. I can't remember the name of. And
Mm,
AI is progressively getting more smarter and more aggressive and more just more efficient and more better, and it's replacing jobs fast. We've seen it. It's getting harder and harder
mm,
and harder to land jobs through traditional ways like applications and resumes and things like that. That's why if you have the skill of networking, that doesn't become a
mm,
problem in any industry that you're in. But if you can take the core skill of sales and learn that, and then get skills all around it, like team building, operations and finance, marketing, sales, um, fulfillment, right? If you can learn all these skills accumulatively, uh, and you take it out of the high ticket sales bubble that we're in, because that's what it is, where it's a very interesting industry where we've found that technology has progressed different methods of business or online business, but that hasn't made it to the traditional world properly. Yeah,
Mm,
you go to a corporate business, you talk about a funnel and high ticket sales, and they're going to be, what do you want about? Like it's just jargon. And so if you can focus, this is something we're going to be talking about in the future in the community. If you can
mm,
focus on developing those skills full circle and becoming a very valuable individual from a skill building perspective, that is going to be where you can make really, really, really big money. And you can go into
mm,
any business and the skills that you've developed working with coaching businesses, take that to the traditional world. I think when my mentor was, we had a discussion about this. He said that he's consulting with a scrap heap business and taking all the skills he's learned from the seven-figure coaching businesses he's had in the past to traditional real world boring businesses, went from 1 million a month to 3 million a month in 60 days, right?
wow.
Just imagine if you took a bit of profit from that. So
Mm,
that's an interesting evolution that I see of the sales rep that seems to be happening because sales rep is a great start. Some people, like we spoke about before, before the call, before we started recording, is that some people, like myself, are okay with being in sales because we love it. We're obsessed with it. It's fun. Psychological chess, basically, is what
mm,
you're doing there. But for most people, it's not going to be an end game. Some people want more. Some people can continue selling and earn $1 million a year, right? I've got friends that do that, 25. They sell SaaS sales and they do $1 million per year, 24 even. Or you can go and do your own thing, which is an interesting concept that we'll be exploring in the future. But it's definitely a bit of a thesis that I've come up more recently.
mm. It's an interesting thesis. And being in, seeing you, I think the most important thing as well on this topic is we get to watch you go through the journey of, especially my position where you starting the RSA and watching and observing you as a mentor and as a leader go from where you started to where you are now. And we're only just getting started with 10 months since I started with you. We get to watch your entire journey and you get to not only lead us, but we get to see, potentially see our next steps in the journey through yourself. So, some people might take the path that you're taking, but other
Mm,
people might just get to see the fact that, oh, there's so many more pathways in sales, outside of sales, after sales, however you, whatever direction you want to take it. But I think the key thing that I really appreciate from you as well is you get to, well, we get to see your journey as well, and we get to see where we can go, where we can take those next steps.
mm.
And it's great because it's constantly providing that next the journey. Oh, this journey is only just getting started. Um, but I mean, even just you moving to Dubai, for example, I'm sure a lot of guys in the community, especially myself, you sharing your journey and understanding and just really showing your lifestyle, even just the people that you're networking with, it
Mm.
opens our eyes. You bear in mind that I'm coming from a small town again, so I'm taking a step to the Gold Coast, but then I'm also taking a step to Dubai and seeing the world from a newfound perspective through the content that you share. So each level up, each step up that you take, you're just sharing a greater perspective to us because we get to see what you're doing and how we can progress as well. You're sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge, and it's just second order effect. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, seeing your journey and how you progress as well. I mean, dude, we're only 10 months in. Just give it another year, give it another 2 years. It's crazy. It's crazy,
It's
man.
it's it's super
But
exciting, man. And I'm really looking forward to, I guess, having the opportunity to help more people with this and, figuring out better
mm,
systems so we can reach more people. And because I've spoken about it, even before we started recording, like for the time being, like my mindset at the moment is we just want to scale to 20 students a month, 5 students a week. Don't want to be really taking that big. Because I don't really need to for, I guess, my goals and the people I'm
mm,
looking to impact. And it's always going to be more of the right people too, because it's like, to those of you that are listening, majority of people in the community are like Ben, are like myself, and for a very good reason. The reason that we get such good results is because I don't just sell anybody and everybody with a credit card and a pulse. I turn people away every single week. Like if it's not a situation I think that you're going to be successful in, I will tell you that. I will warn you. I will tell you that you may not be able to do this or that you may not be successful doing this. I might push you away. And I think
Mm,
something that I'm learning more and more because I've seen a lot of people in this space come and go with their coaching businesses. They start a business, they scale it up really aggressively, and then they stop. They transition to a different offer, different business model, different thing. Whereas I'm optimally in it for the longer term, and I've just taken it much slower and chosen to work with the right people, develop the right systems where, I don't even know the
mm,
half of it. Some of the client success systems that we're building at the back end of the training program, working with uh, a very, very well experienced professional who has built some client success systems for Alex and Mosey's top performing portfolio company that allowed them to sustain hundreds and thousands of high ticket clients. We only want 20 a month. And so we're going very, very deep in every single individual action step. What is the exact thing that you do? There's going to be people that,
mm,
step by step take you accountable in the future. So I'm really looking forward to even giving you guys more access to support than you have now and just helping more people, man. Getting to have more of these conversations
mm,
with people like yourself, 6 months, 10 months down the line, like getting to talk to Luke last week,
mm,
he's making 7, 8K, 10K a month, even just appointment setting. Same story as you. He was a tradesman as well. It
mm,
was, I think he was doing laboring with his dad in his dad's business, and now
mm,
he's just like setting solar appointments. Now he's closing, making $500 to $1,000 a sale. It's very crazy, and it's very exciting for I guess what the future has in store. And the one thing I was going to mention before there as well is something I learned very early on is that your reputation is so important in this industry. So, so important because your actions speak volumes, especially in the high ticket sales industry, especially because and
mm,
that's why a lot of beginners fall prey to marketers because they haven't been in the industry for long enough to know that this guy's lying or this guy is deceptive to his clients or this, that, and the other thing. And so, unfortunately, beginners have to fall into that trap, make that mistake, and then have to learn from spending that investment. So, my whole goal with what we're doing is so they don't have to work with those people in the first hand, then come work with me. I come in before
mm,
that, so they can get results in the first hand in
mm,
the first place instead of doing what I had to do, which is spend all this money on different mentors and so on. So that's the goal.
mm. Exactly. And perfect example is, I'm going to say his name again, the man, the myth, Hudson Ramsden, right? Like he's extremely fast track. We're making five, maybe like, 5 years progression in what Hudson's done is 2 to 3 months, right? Like 8, 10K. There's a setter transitioning into a closer. Whereas you've done that might have taken you 2 years. It might take some 3 to 4 years to do that. You're fast tracking people in such a beautiful way that you can take Hudson, for example, that 2 months ago is a Sparky, now is on an amazing offer, an amazing mentor, fast tracked into high ticket sales, going to be making 10 to 12K a month within 2 to 3 months,
Mhm.
which could have taken you 3 to 4 years potentially.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's kudos to you, right? So it's really being in the industry to understand when people are really telling those lies, but you're doing great wonders, Connor, and I appreciate everything you've done for me.
Appreciate you, brother. Absolutely.
Mhm.
If there was anything we're going to tie off today where I guess the guys can get some value or keep learning or a lesson or I guess something that you wanted to share with everybody, like if there was that one simple thing, I know it's putting you on the spot, but is there something
Mm.
that you want to share with, I guess, people that are listening and watching?
Believe in yourself. This is something that Craig and I have talked about, but it is one core fundamental principle that I have discovered that is the most impactful to me. And it is just having the self-belief, irrefutable confidence in my abilities, in my mindset that I will win. I don't need other people's approval. I don't need other people's opinions. Other people's opinions don't get me paid. So having
Mm,
the irrefutable confidence and 100% commitment to myself has allowed me to get to the position I am now. When there's a lot of noise, when there's a lot of people in your ear telling you that something isn't going to work, or there's just a lot of negative energy around, having the belief in yourself that no matter what, everything will work out, that is the one sole reason I can tie all of my success to. I've never seeked anyone else's approval or opinion. Just 100% believe in myself. Know that no matter what, I'm good. I will always figure it out. I'll always know how to figure it out. No matter what, I will win. Simple as that.
savage. Very well said.
Mm,
Very well said. Well, look, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that interview. I think there's definitely more than a few golden nuggets and takeaways that you would have got from that there, especially from someone like Ben that's only been in the industry 10, 11 months now. And I think he's learned a lot. I've learned a lot from his transformation, just as I do from everybody else. It's absolutely crushing it. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it as a revisitation from our first one earlier, well, last year, back in April last year in that range or somewhat closer.
mm,
So yeah, man, it's been beautiful to see your transformation. Super proud of what you've accomplished and what you've done in such a short time frame. And like you said, bro,
mm.
it's just the beginning.
It is. It is, man. We're only just getting started with this journey. I appreciate everything you've done for me so far in such a short period of time. We're going to look back on this interview and we're going to go, wow, look how far we've come again. So I look forward to the next one.
100%, bro. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.